Is Airbnb dead? Can you still make money on Airbnb? On this call, Jayson Cain breaks down how much money he's making on Airbnb and what things he's thinking about as he's building out his portfolio. Hey, this is an offshoot of the Investing with the Baldovinos, and I'm now calling it the Happy Hour Cash Flow, or the Cash Flow Happy Hour Podcast. One day I will get this right. You should grab a beverage of your choice. Talk real estate investing with Jayson Cain. Jayson is based out of Southern California. He has one Airbnb property down there. He has two other long-term rentals in Indianapolis, and he's just closing and finishing up rehabbing his duplex also in Indiana that's going to be used as a short-term rental. Teaser, we calculated this on the call. He bought the property for $65,000, put some renovation and furnished it, and he is estimated to make, if you like content like this, make sure to like this and subscribe. Now onto the call with Jayson. So Jayson, thanks so much. This is actually going to be my first edition where I'm going to rip the audio and post this on some kind of actual podcast platform. It'll of course also be on YouTube. But Jayson, thanks so much for joining me today.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Josh. I always love talking to you about real estate.
Yeah, I think between some of our text threads and his weekly clubhouse that he runs on Tuesdays, you want to give a quick shout out to your clubhouse real quick?
Yeah, thanks for the plug right there. So everyone, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, we have a clubhouse meeting that I host specifically for newer investors. So that's just like an hour where we talk about, like challenges we're having or share any wins that we have during the week, because it's always, always good to encourage others, specifically like newbie investors, on how to get started and how to kind of scale. So yeah, if you guys have, if you want to join, follow me on Instagram because I posted the link there. My handle is @Jayson.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'll be sure to tag this when I post it, or tag your Instagram and your clubhouse and things, and I post it on the back end for Irish and our mystery guests. If you just joined, if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave them in the chat anytime. If you ever want to come on video with your questions, if I'm kind of in that transition period for a Q&A, feel free to either raise your hand or pop your video. If not, you can just stay as an observer too. This is like my video clubhouse that can now get recorded. So that's my gist. Anyways, Jayson, let's go to the first question with you. I know that you are currently in Indianapolis and you are furnishing and getting your Airbnb all set up. But before we dive into that stuff, tell me your origin story and how you got into real estate.
All right. Origin story, I would say started when I kind of Airbnb house hacked my first condo. That was the first property that I purchased. I lived in one room and listed the other room as an Airbnb. So when, guests would book it, I would be on the other room. So I did that for 3 years. And then just recently I started investing out of state because when I look at the market in LA, where I currently live, very difficult to find cash flowing deals. So I looked at different markets in the Midwest and I picked Indianapolis, where I am currently now as we record, setting up a short-term rental. So I have a few properties. Two of them are long-term rentals, and one duplex that I'm setting up as short-term rentals.
Okay. So your current portfolio mix as it stands of July 9th is you have your short-term rental that you run in LA, and then you have two long-term rentals in Indy plus one duplex that'll be a short-term rental.
Yes, correct.
Okay. And those ones in Indy, are they all fully rented? The duplex is obviously being worked on now for short-term, but the two long-term ones, do you have tenants in there?
Yeah, one of those two properties is also a duplex. So that duplex, they're both are long-term tenants. They're tenanted, and then there's one single family that also has a tenant, and then just the duplex that are getting ready to be listed.
Okay. All right. And then those duplexes. So I know that you were there tell me a little bit, tell everybody, I guess, a little bit about your trip, what you're there, what you accomplished, and I guess what's left to do before you put your Airbnb up on market.
Awesome. I'd love to. Like, so I actually had a goal of acquiring, at least 10 properties this year, 2021, and not needing to go to my market, which is Indianapolis. So that kind of failed. And because I just wanted to make it, prove it to anyone that, you can do everything remotely. But for this instance, I kind of pivoted a little bit, like instead of just doing like all long term, I decided to try it out to do some short term rentals. And since I already have experience with my short term rental in Long Beach, I wanted to kind of take control of all the aspects that goes into setting up a successful short-term rental listing. So that's kind of why I flew here. I wanted to kind of specify, what kind of fixtures goes into, what kind of appliances I should get, and, what kind of furniture works. So that's the reason why. And also coming out here in Indy, my market, it's very eye-opening. So when you're like a long-term, you're just investing remotely, you look at a map of a market and, you kind of, highlight the, areas where things would work. But unless you're in that, in that street specifically and looking at houses and seeing the changes in that neighborhood, you can't get that from a map. So that's kind of like what I gained from this trip, is being able to know like where exactly to invest in and where I would stay away from. So that was my big
interesting. And this was your first ever trip to Indianapolis, right?
Yes. So I've acquired the 5 units, and then this is my first trip out here.
Okay. I have also not been to the market that I invest in. Plan to, I don't know, maybe sometime next year. Right. But no, I definitely could imagine just the extra insights, and just even putting a face to the name just helps solidify those relationships even more.
Right, and that's the other thing. Like when your vendors that you talk to remotely see that you can travel there and meet them in person, that really kind of solidifies the relationship that you built with them, and that kind of tells them that hey, you're serious. Like you would even travel to look at properties and buy properties there.
Yeah. So, okay. For, today's subject supposed to be thinking about the differences between a short-term and a long-term rental. But now it's nice is that you've as you're starting to build your portfolio in this network, you have both. So why did you choose to keep those two as a long-term versus this duplex now be a short-term?
Right. So, when I did my research on, which areas could work for the short-term rental market that I'm targeting, the long-term rentals that I have right now probably wouldn't work, as the duplex that I chose to switch into a short-term rental. So for those, they haven't given me any problems at all. So I'm going to keep those as a long-term rental.
So the numbers wouldn't work. Is that just because the cash flow of like per month just wouldn't work as a long-term buy and hold now?
It's harder to make it work because of the location. So it's more like in a suburban area where it is great for long-term tenants, but not necessarily great for short-term rentals.
Okay, that makes sense. And so, was your primary goal when you're moving into Indy, was that to make more short terms or make more long terms? Like, how did you
make more long terms? But with the market changing, you gotta change with the market. So I kind of changed my strategy a little bit to explore short-term rentals here in Indy.
Okay. And then you're doing something that's very interesting that I like with your duplex. So, and maybe this is still the plan, or maybe now that you've been in Indy and things have changed, but is your plan still, because it's a duplex, is it still to self-manage one side and then have a property manager do the other side?
Yep, that's the plan. So if you're familiar with, like online marketing, I'm doing like a split test. So one side, like you said, would be managed by like a short-term rental property manager. The other side, where I'm currently in right now, is going to be managed by me solely. So, I'll give it a good 3 or 4 months to see which one would fare better, and then
Okay.
change. Decide on which strategy to pursue based on that.
So, all right, just to kind of break it down and to get a little bit more insight into the viewers, what exactly, when you are managing a short-term rental, like in a quick 30 seconds, what are you in charge of? And then what things is a property manager or the short-term manager now alleviating from your plate?
Right. So when you're self-managing, when setting it up, you're in charge of furnishing, you're in charge of testing all the mechanicals. Pretty much, if you're a long-term rental investor, you have to make the place rent ready. And on top of that, you have to furnish the place. And then on top of that, you have to set up all the utilities, water, electric, all the utilities, make standard operating procedures for everything, like for the guests checking in, checking out, scheduling all your cleaners, replenishing all your consumables like shampoo, soap. So you're in charge of all of that. So this would also depend on the property manager that you pick, and also the operating side. When guests are already checking in and out, some will just do the communications part, and then they would just kind of hire out local handyman to kind of do all the repairs and maintenance. But for the one that I hired to manage a property, all I had to do was basically just pay for the furniture. They order everything. They build out the furniture. They stage it. They take photos, and then that's it, pretty much. And then I just have to pay them 18% of the net.
The net.
Income. So the net meaning that whatever they received from Airbnb, minus the Airbnb fees and the cleaning fees. So that would be the net. Where they
Gotcha. So they're not including any of the like PITI, so your mortgage payment, your insurance, your taxes. They're not including, I don't know. I guess you have to pay for coffee and toilet paper and stuff like that. They just bill you that, right?
That's all inclusive on the 18%.
Oh, for the 18%?
Yeah.
Like, how about like towels and linens and things like that?
Those you provide. Those you provide up front. So the towels and linens is going to be part of the cleaning. So that's actually not part of the 18%, but it's a expense that the guest pays when they book. So when you book on Airbnb or like VRBO, there's going to be a cleaning fee that you have to pay. So that's passed along to the cleaners.
Okay, so in your calculations, just to like ballpark, right? How much did you buy the duplex for? How much did you put in renovations? And then how much are you estimating to gross on each unit per month?
Per month. Okay, so purchase price was 65. Renovation costs, I would say, well, they're still doing some renovations.
But if you had to ballpark, even with some safety,
yeah, 20.
20?
20, yeah.
For both sides? Per side?
25, because I had to add an 8. Yeah.
Okay, so then you're all in 65 plus 25 is what, 70, 90? You're all in for 90-ish?
Right.
Not including furniture.
Right. So furnishing these two, I would say 10,000.
10,000 each.
It's
Okay.
a very, yeah, it's a small space. It's a one bed, one bath.
Both of them are 1-on-1s.
Yeah.
Okay. Same layout too.
Yes.
This is like the perfect A/B test. Like I need to like
Right.
this. I hope you documented and videotaped everything because I don't think I've ever seen anyone A/B test Airbnb. Okay, so then you're all in for what is that 110 now, including furnishings. So each side you're expected to make how much? This is just gross.
Gross. Yeah. So it depends on the market. Also, it also depends on the season. But when I average out like a yearly thing and average it to month, it would be about 4,000 gross.
Okay.
Each.
Okay, so 4,000 gross each month for each side. And then the management takes 18% of that $4,000, right? We're just kind of ballparking some numbers. So that means, what is that? Boom, 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 times 0.18. Nope. So you're paying them $720 a month.
Yep.
I mean, 18% is actually like, I know that, we've talked about short-term rentals before, and I've kind of dabbled and already called some property managers here in California. How hard was it to find someone to fully manage and do everything for 18%? Because that seems like a steal. Like what I've been finding in California is like 25-30% sometimes.
Right. So actually we'll see, because I think it's 18% because they're pretty new in the market. So they kind of have to offer that low to get some clients. So I guess they're also testing the market, like how I'm testing the market.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, usually, yeah, you're right. It's around 20 to 30% of the gross. These type of property managers usually charge. So
As you pull something up, when you're thinking about managing, self-managing versus managing, how much time do you actually spend, or do you estimate you're going to spend on managing it yourself?
Managing it myself, I would say, so if you're going to be managing it yourself, that would mean to me being able to respond to guests as needed. So it's kind of like sporadic work, I guess. But in total, I would say 30 minutes a day, or even less than that. Yeah.
Okay.
Then if something comes up, then you're going to hop on a call maybe with the guests and kind of walk them through the situation or what you're going to do. And then, you need to connect to a vendor, then, you take that call, set up the appointment, and that's it. They'll take care of everything. Because all of the hours that you spend like managing the property, it's going to be majority spent during the, setting it up and setting up your system. That way, once you have guests, it's going to be passive. I mean, kind of passive.
So, okay. And obviously you're trying to make as many remote systems as possible. So you're not actually, having to really check them in. You assign the code on the smart lock, they go in and all that good stuff. But if you're estimating to average out, depending on the highs and low seasons of travel, $4,000 a month times 12 ends up being like 48 grand a year. That's what you're expecting to gross-ish? I mean, somewhere around that. I mean, I guess anything over that's ridiculous. I can't even say, even if you're like 50% of that, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, Josh, that's what I've been telling you, man. So when you look at that number, 48,000 gross, that's almost like, what is it? Like, what percent of that is,
like
purchase price?
Yeah, that's like
for 65, right?
But you're all in for 110.
Yeah.
And if you combine that, really that's 48 times 2, right? I mean, minus 18%.
Right. But we haven't talked about, the added expenses, that comes with managing the short-term rentals.
What are the added expenses?
Expenses that are not, really considered when you're doing long-term rentals. For example, utilities. If you have a single family that you're renting out to long-term tenants, usually utilities. But if you're providing, like short-term rentals, you're paying for those utilities. So that's an added cost. Internet, water, like you're mowing your own lawn, clearing the snow, and also added insurance coverage as a short-term rental. What else? Let me look at my list actually.
Okay. And have you ever used like Chandler David Smith's calculator to then like estimate cash on cash return real quick on a short term, or is that just like
on a short term? No, I haven't, but I usually make my own spreadsheet because I know what each line means.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of how.
Gotcha. And then, so I'm going to run something real quick for everyone here. If you guys are looking for a quick and dirty, like rental calculator, it's called the CDS rental calculator. It's on the App Store. And then your rents right now, I added both sides, took out the 18%. So your estimated gross-ish is like 8,800. You're not getting anything for utilities. Do you like on a short term? And I think Irish has a question about analyzing short terms. How much would you reserve for variable expenses? That's kind of the same question that I have too. Is like, are you still putting in vacancy, maintenance, and management? Yes, for management, but vacancy, maintenance, and CapEx?
Right. Yeah, I do. Yeah, you have. So, I mean, it's the same. So all of the expenses that you anticipate for a long-term rental, I on when I analyze my deal, and then I just keep adding the costs that are short-term rental specific.
Okay, so then just real quick, if you had to like ballpark your utilities, how much do you think your utilities are going to run per month on this?
So are you doing the duplex right now?
Yeah, the duplex. I'm just curious to see.
So you want me to do it line by line? 200 water, 200 electric, 40 gas, 80 like
440,
90 for internet, 50 for alarm system, 200 for cleaning supplies, 200 for consumables.
So it's like $1,000 almost then. Seems like ish. Don't quote me on that, but and then your insurance is
that's part of my long-term thing.
What is it like?
So total expense.
Insurance and taxes are
about 926.
926 for insurance per year.
It's like that's the mortgage, insurance, CapEx, repairs, vacancy, and property. Yeah, I'm talking about all the long term.
Okay, but then if you had to separate taxes and insurance, what would that be? Could you ballpark that?
250.
250 total. Okay, so let's go 150 times 12 because I'm just dividing it out. Is 1,800. Which really, I mean, this is like, I know that my wife's on here, Hannah, and we've always been going back. I'm like, should we focus on Airbnb or should we just do flips or what's the next one? Dude.
Why don't you do both?
Okay, come on, focus. Oh man, I got to just screenshot this. I'll put this in post so you can see it. But if you guys can't see it because my camera is on a weird focus mode, like that cash flow says 65,000. Like that's after your PITI, you're saving. Dude, I think you lagged, but gosh, that's like someone's salary.
I don't think you subtracted everything, Josh. You subtract my capex.
I didn't subtract the 18. No, I did subtract the 18% for management. And I did subtract, I mean, I
Right.
put in 5% for vacancy and then 10% for maintenance and capex.
Oh, okay. I put more than that, so maybe that's why yours is kind of
Okay.
higher.
But geez, I mean, even if you're okay, even at 65 cash flow on the nice side, bad case scenario, even reduce that by 30%, I would be very happy with $40,000 a year. Like, I don't even think it matters. Just like, it doesn't even matter. Just buy it. Okay, so hold on now. It's like this got like, I'm not going on a tangent. Um, why not just buy more?
That's actually what I'm doing here, man. So today, the other day, actually, I've been scoping out areas that would be cool for Airbnb. So we put an offer yesterday on a duplex on a really really nice area where
Yeah.
locals and visitors alike kind of hang out. So that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to get more of those type of properties because you look at those returns and you want to get more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Irish had some questions and I threw my phone. So, now I can't get to her questions on Instagram. Well, I'm pulling that up. What are your goals now?
Goals now, well, it's always been to have enough, cash flow to be work optional. And I think with this, kind of strategies I'm trying to build with short-term rentals, I'm getting closer to that. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on.
Okay, gotcha. And I'm pulling up Irish's questions. If you have any questions too, feel free to leave them in the chat. How much reserves would you recommend to have for an Airbnb for like this duplex? Like, what makes you feel comfortable?
Reserves would be the same as for your, uh,
36 months of operating expenses,
I
the size of your portfolio.
Yes. Yeah, it's pretty much the same. So,
Okay.
I mean, you don't necessarily have any other things that you need to take care of when you have a short-term rental versus, long-term rental.
I feel like your property also has to be like in a much nicer condition than like your normal rent-ready property, right? I'm assuming.
So that's where the cleaner comes, right? But you're not paying for the cleaners. The guest pays for the cleaners. So your property gets cleaned whenever there's a turn.
Okay. Interesting. And how have you financed these short-term rentals?
This one specifically is through a commercial lender. Only because when I tried to do a cash out, they were the ones that I went with. But if you're looking for, there are lenders out there that would lend on a property based on short-term rental income projections, but those would be more costly.
Okay. And then what would you recommend in terms of I guess not what you recommend, but going back to your rehab, did you calculate this as a BRRRR or didn't even matter? You're like, it's just going to cash flow. So I don't care if it burrs out. Like my money can sit there for a second. Because you bought it cash or did you finance that 65?
I bought it cash. Yeah.
Okay. And then do you plan to refinance it?
I did, yeah. So when I started the process of refinancing the property, that was for a BRRRR, for a long-term.
Gotcha. Okay.
Long-term.
So did you already refi out now? Or you're just waiting for the cash flow a little bit, or you're waiting for the rehabs to be done so that way you can get the appraisal back?
I actually I did the refinance before I decided to turn the other duplex as a short-term rental. So I probably could have gotten more. Yeah, I finished the cash out already.
Okay.
I wish I had waited, until the other side was done, and I could have probably could have gone more.
What did it appraise for, if you don't mind me asking?
This one appraised for 110. So.
Okay, so you got pretty much almost all of your money out.
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
No. I only got to take out 80%.
You got to take out 80%? 75?
Yeah. The appraisal was 110. 80% of that.
85.
I didn't really get all my money.
So you're like leaving 20 in.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I say all relatively because you bought it cash, but yeah, you'll make that back in now apparently 2 months. So whatever. Just kidding. Okay, John has a question, and you can either answer this or I can. But how would you find the right hard money lender, and what should you be looking out for? I know that we kind of talked about this.
Yeah, I don't personally have any experience going through a hard money lender yet, but I've learned a lot from you, so maybe you can answer that, Josh.
Yeah, I know that Jason and I were talking about hard money lending on a potential deal, but John, when I have 2 active hard money loans. I have another property. Actually, fun news today. I got a property I got a 4-plex under contract today in Cincinnati. So that's fun, and we're doing that through hard money again with a different lender actually this time. But when I was trying to figure out hard money, I literally called 50 hard money lenders, and I pretended like I was nobody because I am nobody. And from that point, I was very transparent. Just, hey, I'm just getting started. But I did have, my wife and I had W-2 incomes. We had a decent amount of liquidity, and also we had pretty good credit. So in terms of everything but experience, we had. And then I found one lender that was super nice and like hand-holded me through the process. And it took me like 5 calls of just like, you get the ones who are like straightforward and very transactional. And then when you'll eventually find one who will like handhold you and like walk you through the process. And she spent an hour with me. And unfortunately, I didn't do business with her because she was very expensive, but she helped clarify things for me. And then 40 more calls after that, I knew exactly who I wanted to work with and who I didn't want to work with. I don't know if that's helpful.
There's one thing that I learned being here in Indy and actually working with wholesalers. One tip I give to John is, if you're buying a property from a wholesaler, ask them which hard money lender they've worked with before. Because that's actually one of the deciding factors for that wholesaler, because if they're going to work with a known closer lender, then they would more likely give you the deal because they know that your lender can close.
Yes, that is definitely good advice. One that I haven't done, but I will definitely use. And I'm sure that like different contractors who work with investors can probably also say the same thing. Do you have any experience with any second home or vacation loans, Jason, at all?
No, I don't.
I don't either. But that question was another good question from Irish off Instagram. From my conversations, Irish, I've been extensively working with NFM lending, and I have a contact if you want to reach out to me afterwards. It's actually a pretty common program. I know that Jess talked about it before too. The key to that one though is that you should be upfront with your lender if you want to use a second home loan or a vacation home loan, because that'll only require 10% down. But I don't think the rental income, at least for the first year or two, doesn't offset your DTI. Not a loan officer, not a financial advisor. Definitely check with them. But I know that there was a difference between using long-term rental income versus short-term rental income, and how long kind of that business supplement had to be there before they could actually use that into your DTI calculations. That's as far as I get though. But it's a pretty common product. Most national lenders will have that. Anything else you want to add to that, Jason?
No, I think, but I'll, because I'm thinking of I'm always thinking of ways on how I can get more financing. So I think I'm gonna do more research on that. And that's Jess. Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't closed on one yet. I feel like Jess is. If you guys don't know who Jess White is, you should definitely get up with him too. He's one that Jason and I talk to a lot as well. What my last question is, what do you need right now, or what are you looking for?
Deal wise, I'm looking for side by side duplex in Indianapolis, about 38th Street. So if you know someone or a wholesaler that has those types of deals, please let me know. But I don't know, what do I need? I don't know. I feel like I need more people, like you, Josh, to talk to about deals, because I feel like for me personally, I learn more. I mean, I learn faster by talking to people and hearing about their specific experiences. That's
Yeah. I mean, that's the excuse of why I just started the Zoom thing, that it gives me another excuse to talk to people and hopefully add some value. And how can
if you're new or just starting out, or you have a few deals and you just want to bounce off of ideas, off of other investors, contact me or Josh.
Okay. And how can people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram. I've been trying to document my journey here in Indy. It's at Jayson Cain, JaysonCain.
Okay, awesome. Well, Jayson, I know that you are in Indy and you're heading back, to Cali tomorrow?
Yep, tomorrow morning.
Okay. And if you didn't get to see his journey in terms of what he was doing with his duplexes, make sure you go to his Instagram account immediately and follow. I hope he took more pictures. And Jayson, I really hope you make some kind of cumulative video on that, like an Instagram TV, a YouTube video, whatever it is, because I think that A/B test, no one's doing, man. And that will that's some good content right there. As a marketer, I'm just that's so good.
Fine, Josh, you convinced me. I'll do
it. If you need help, I all I need is just an in on the next indie duplex. You need the funds, here you go. But thanks so much, Jayson, and thanks everyone else for tuning in. If you have any follow-up questions, you can reach out to him. Now you know where to find him on Instagram. I will post this probably in a week or so. I know there's nothing in your glass because you're busy on a renovation, and I finished all of my glass, so now I need to re-pour. But Jayson, thanks so much. Safe travels, man, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone. Take care. If you like content like this, make sure to like this and subscribe.